Hello everybody, welcome back to another Genesis Bible reading. Today we're going to be in chapter 11. So up until this point, we have the biblical narrative for all sorts of problems, like, the problem of evil, basic things like clothing, the origin of the earth and everything. And today we're going to be discovering and reading about the creation of language. So follow along if you can. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech, and it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Then they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar, and they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city, and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the whole earth." So, a few things. It wasn't just a tower. It was a whole city of the entire all of the Earth's nations that stemmed from Noah and his three sons. Another thing to note is that there was nothing primitive about this, and if you want to flip with me to Genesis, what is it? Genesis 4:19. Then Lamech took for himself two wives. The name of one was Adah, and the name of the second was Zillah. And Adah bore Jubal, and he was the father of those who dwell in tents and have livestock. His brother's name was Jubal, and he was the father of those who play the harp and flute. And as for Zillah, she bore Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every craftsman in bronze and iron. So already, even before the flood, they were making swords, spears, musical instruments, etc. And also something to note is that Nimrod, as we read in last video, Genesis 10, 10 verse 8. Cush begot Nimrod, and he began to be a mighty one on the earth, and he was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. So, part of his kingdom was Babel. So he was you could say, king of the territory of Babel. Verse 5. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, "Indeed, the people are one, and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. Come, let us go down, and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. Therefore its name is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of the earth. So I found it interesting that if we read in verse 4, and they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city, and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the whole earth." I found it interesting that they had cause for concern to be scattered over the earth. That's one. Number two, a lot of people think they were trying to build a tower that reached to heaven, though it says in the heavens. And as we read in the Genesis story, there's multiple levels of heavens. Paul talked about a guy who beheld the third heaven. So there's different heavens, and they weren't trying to, I don't think, get into heaven. So another interesting point is that all the languages came from God. God scattered the peoples, and he scattered the nations' languages. Verse 10. More genealogies. And I'm not good with Bible names. This is the genealogy of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begot Arphaxad 200 years after the flood. After he begot Arphaxad, Shem lived 500 years and begot sons and daughters. Verse 12. Arphaxad lived 35 years and begot Salah. After he begot Salah, Arphaxad lived 403 years and begot sons and daughters. Salah lived 30 years and begot Eber. After he begot Eber, Salah lived 403 years and begot sons and daughters. Eber lived 34 years and begot Peleg. After he begot Peleg, Eber lived 430 years and begot sons and daughters. Peleg lived 30 years and begot Reu. Verse 19, after he begot Reu, Peleg lived 209 years and begot sons and daughters. Reu lived 32 years and begot Serug. After he begot Serug, Reu lived 207 years and begot sons and daughters. Serug lived 30 years and begot Nahor. After he begot Nahor, Serug lived 200 years and begot sons and daughters. Nahor lived 29 years and begot Terah, after he begot Terah, Nahor lived 119 years and begot sons and daughters. Now Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. So, I find it interesting also, before the flood, man's life was very, very long. Adam lived 930, or he lived 900 years plus. And then I found it interesting that after the flood, once again, mankind is living very long, though it keeps getting shorter and shorter. Verse 27, this is the genealogy of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran begot Lot, and Haran died before his father Terah in his native land in Ur of the Chaldeans. Then Abram and Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai. The name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, and the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Iscah. But Sarai was barren; she had no child. And Terah took his son Abram and his grandson Lot, and the son of Haran, and his grandson Lot, the son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, his son Abram's wife, and they went out from Ur of the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan. They came to Haran and dwelt there. So the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So this is the introduction to Abraham. One second. So, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but in the back of Bibles you have maps, and so they start in on the east side of the Saudi, or what would be the modern Saudi Arabian peninsula, and then Abram's life story is moving, to the promised land, moving to Egypt, and all the adventures that happen there. So we'll flip back to Genesis. Chapter 12. Now the Lord had said to Abram, "Get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you, and then all the families of the earth shall be blessed." So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken to him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. So with how old people are even now, he was pretty old and he was still living with his father. And as Jordan Peterson likes to put it, this is a call to adventure. God randomly calls Abram, or Abram, from his father's household on an adventure. Then Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the people whom they had acquired in Haran, and they departed to go to the land of Canaan. So they came to the land of Canaan. Abram passed through the land to the place of Shechem, as far as the terebinth tree of Moreh. And the Canaanites were then in the land. Verse 7, Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, To your descendants I will give this land. And there he built an altar to the Lord who had appeared to him. And he moved from there to the mountain east of Bethel, and he pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed, going still onward toward the south. Verse 10, Now there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to dwell there, for the famine was severe in the land. And it came to pass when he was close to entering Egypt that he said to Sarai his wife, Indeed, I know that you are a woman of beautiful countenance. Therefore it will happen when the Egyptians see you that they will say, This is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will let you live. Please say you are my sister, that it may be well with me for your sake, and that I may live because of you. So it was when Abram came into Egypt that the Egyptians saw the woman, that she was very beautiful. The princes of Pharaoh also saw her and commended her to Pharaoh. And the woman was taken to Pharaoh's house. He treated Abram well for her sake. He had sheep, oxen, male donkeys, male and female servants, female donkeys, and camels. So one thing I wanted to say here is that wealth was very much so represented in servants and livestock. How many servants you had, sheep, oxen, male donkeys, male and female servants, female donkeys, and camels. So he's we would call him a, poor nomad. He was a very rich, he was a very rich lord, you could say. Verse 17, But the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this that you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister? I might have taken her as my wife. Now therefore, here is your wife. Take her and go your way. So Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had. So, we'll do chapter 13 as well. Then Abram went up from Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, to the south. Abram was very rich in livestock and silver and in gold. And he went on his journey from the south as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been, at the beginning between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the altar which he had made there at first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. Lot also, who went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. Now the land was not able to support them, that they might dwell together, for their possessions were so great that they could not dwell together. So Abram, as mentioned above, he's very rich. He has many servants, big family, lots and lots of livestock at this point, and they're getting too big to where the land can't handle it can't handle to feed their livestock. Verse 7, And there's strife between the herdsmen of Abram's flock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. The Canaanites and the Perizzites then dwelt in the land. So Abram said to Lot, Please let there be no strife between you and me, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brethren. Is not the whole land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, then I will go to the right, or if you go to the right, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted his eyes and saw the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as you go toward Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed to the east, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated from each other. Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent even as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked and sinful against the Lord. So Abraham continues to live out in the plains and the wilderness, and Lot goes into the cities, which are very, very wicked. Verse 14. And the Lord said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him, lift your eyes now and look for the place where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward. For all the land which you see I give to you and your descendants forever. And I will make you descendants as the dust of the earth, so that if man could number the dust of the earth, then your descendants also could be numbered. Arise, walk in the land through its length and its width, for I have given it to you. Then Abram moved his tent and went and dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built an altar there to the Lord. So we have a narrative of the very strong connection Abraham and God is building. So we will pick back up in chapter 14. Thank you for listening. And yeah, we will pick back up in the story of Abraham.